Yeah, before I proceed, I wish to acknowledge the presence of Babatau, Reverend Babatau. It's our Fealofa'i in Fiji, where we spent our last over 5 years before we relocated to Samoa last month. And also the presence of our Tawa, Reverend Tawa, and also Reverend Molimau, and to our families and friends. Yeah, my full name is Louis Charles Fealofa'i Lene. As you probably heard from Molimau or eulogies earlier, I have a matai taito, two in fact, taito and oloyali, all from my two families in Lepa. I was trying to be a matai in my village in Utuali as well. I wish to acknowledge that, but it was just after my mother-in-law passed away in November, so I wasn't able to. It was one of my dreams to be serving my village where I grew up, in case my family's from Utuali. You might be asking why I'm a matai in Lepa and not in Utuali. But I was asked, in fact, several times by our family, our inga sa matiu in Utuali. But yeah, we had other things. Hopefully in the future, I will still be able to serve our family in Utuali and my village in Utuali. Yeah, now to Fafonga, I'm from Utuali and Epa, and my mom also mentioned a few other villages where I'm connected to. Misiafa was born on the 19th of December 2012 at Motu'utua Hospital. He was 12 years old when he was called home by our Creator. His education life started from Anglican preschool in Apia before we moved to Auckland briefly for a few months, and that's where he ended up attending Otahu preschool. I'm not too sure about the exact name, but it was in Otahu. And we went back to Samoa later that year, and he continued his primary school at Apia Primary School at Malifa. And then in 2020, we relocated to Suva, Fiji, when I was called to serve our government. We spent 5 years there, and Misiafa spent 5 years, in fact just over 5 years, at the Suva Christian Community School. Misiafa has only one sibling, his sister and our daughter Neulina. Neulina is a name I put together to acknowledge my two mothers here. Silau Niu, her last name, the last three digits, Longaingoa Niu, and then my mother Kaisarina. So I put together, came up with the name Neulina. Yeah. My son has a lot of siblings in Samoa, in New Zealand, Australia, wherever we went to, wherever we have families. In Samoa, Fealofa'i Molimau tinaya te and Nafi, and really hit me because when she mentioned the word community, my son always, and I think my son was indeed a community boy. He was raised by a lot of people. We try our best to bring him everywhere we go, to our families, as you can see in the photos. I know he grew up most of his life in Satapuala, especially the early years, but when we got the chance, we tried to bring him to all our families, Utuali'i, Lepa, Fastouta, and wherever we go, we try to bring him along. And there was a purpose for him, and that's why we wanted him to be there, to understand the people that loved him, all of us, and that's why I raised him. We have a love for rugby that's how we wanted to raise him. We have a love for rugby before we went to Fiji, and we were even in Fiji. And that's where we connected to a lot of people as well, to a lot of friends in Samoa, in Fiji, and even here. He was an active boy, big and strong. I saw how he was growing so quickly in the last few years, especially last year. I was prepared to slowly engage him, to try and transition him into his teenage life. I was prepared. I spoke to my wife. I wanted to speak to him about the changes in his body and his emotion. I wanted to prepare him in the next stage of his life as a teenager. He was starting to ola lang ka Misiafa. Yep, matartan no malutolo. It's probably time to. This was actually just before he became sick. Ya wale mo Misiafa no. Lene Fealofa'i says. Last year I was able to spend a lot of time with him, especially when my wife and our daughter were away most of the time to New Zealand. There was a funeral as well for Father Mapsua. I think it was a year before. And there were Lene, our daughter, has a health condition, and they had to come here very often, every year, but last year. And then our mother-in-law also passed away, so I was able to spend a lot of time with my son. We will walk together, go watch movies. I tried to bring him along, even force him to try and go to his rugby training in Suva. I know his body is a rugby player. He's a big boy. Even the coach of the academy came up to me. I actually told him, I don't think my son has an interest in rugby, but he kept insisting, don't just bring him. He will grow into the game, and I thought he was starting to, when he was getting bigger, he started to realize that, but he also have a love for swimming. In fact, he really loves swimming, and we had a swim on Saturday at Laloman before he became ill the next day. My wife doesn't know how to swim, so it was only me, my son, and my daughter. I always we send them to swimming school in Suva, and even the school also. They were doing a lot of swimming every year, and that's where he had the love for swimming. My relationship with him was unique. I know I didn't spend a lot of time in his early years, but I was away at the time. But my father and my family were the ones who connected me to him and to the family, my wife's family. I was the soft one in our family when it comes to raising our kids. I have a soft voice in the house. You probably see me not soft outside, but in our household, my wife here is the one who's very loud, and we disagree on a lot of things. I know, as a couple, especially raising our kids. Fealofa'i matua alofa ia lo'u to'olua i lau whanau. Au te re fia ai, o isi taimi. Ia hafu ia lo'u to'olua lau whanau. Ia o te alo nofo se mea po ilele ia na umalola ia no saulola ia whai sautala iai. E whaamamalo na au i sau whanau. Ia, ai, o le whasi o le tangata alofa, sa mata mwhai lava I raise, le ma whanau uma, and especially Misiafa, who was the elders and was strong in a way that we thought, we made him read Psalm 1 Bibles at home, so he can keep learning his Psalm 1. And a lot of things, Psalm 1, we brought him along, meet people, and he has to respect when he goes to church. We told him to sit at the front of the church. Se longa uma loku whakaaluisi. Ke relo se mai kau ale sunga ia wavatau. But that's how we raised him, and we told him, se longa uma loku whakoa ai ona e saule I whafo. I was proud of him. I was silently, I didn't say much to him, but as a parent, I wanted him to, grow and learn sometimes mistakes. And when we were blessed with new Lene, we taught Misiafa from a very young age to respect his sister. We reminded him that his sister, as we say in Samoa, I oi mata. My wife always told my son that, and meaning never to lay a hand on his sister. And basically, he's the sister's protector until death. Over the years, New Lene started to realize that Misiafa was always soft on her. Ua loa lava New Lene le fasia o ia e Misiafa, le a lava le tautara I titi o New Lene, le fasia lava e Misiafa. And I think she took advantage of this bond many times. And she became the most aggressive one. I think she was probably peolo to lua wa o te ma. Ia le la wa alu Misiafa. Ia wa ma fiwa e fato to am fa nga I o le fali. Uno wa le se fa yaso yai, no fa ye lona le fia, everything. Our son was the one that, for 5 years we were in Fiji. First 2 years it was COVID. So we spent those 2 years within the walls of our house. Our kids couldn't come out, so that bond was created from there, and they continue on. To be honest, I wasn't prepared for this eulogy. I don't think I had a clear space or even a space to do another one, especially for my son, and so sudden. As most of you are now aware, my dad passed away the day we arrived in Samoa. And I was trying to open my laptop when we were preparing for my son's funeral. I looked at the files, my dad's funeral, it was just a few weeks ago. And now I have to create another file for the funeral of my son. In 6 months, we've been dealing with the pain that I probably couldn't find the words to fully describe the depth of this pain, the meaning of it. Like I mentioned, my mother-in-law, Susanna, was buried last year in November, and then my dad just last month, and now my son. I would like to acknowledge the support and the prayers from everyone, really comforting us. Your prayers and everything, the messages, even people we don't know, just reach out, message us. When we arrived here, we didn't know a lot of people who were reaching out to us, even the media, and they were really kind. And I thought it really gave us a lot of time to more, and also we were able to, knowing that a lot of people were willing to share our pain, really was something ma longona I fo le ma fanfana ona o le tele anon wai o le nei alofa ina ne iumi umi se Molimau ona I wha umatu fo I ele tina nei. But to our families and friends who were with us throughout this journey in the last few weeks, thank you so much for your love, sharing your everything to us. You know, people just step us on the shoulder and just gave us, even a prayer, say a few words, hug us. Some friends that we haven't seen or talked to for a while, like we probably stopped last time was doing high school, and a lot of them reached out, even came to our rescue. I mea mate man nao ai, whawhitai te lava I tō wanga le. Whawhitai o maa ainga, I ainga na lua, e tau le tō laulau atua mātua ainga. O na auto si le fia, ia o le tele o ainga o Misiafa. I le tō wanga le lei. Whawhitai whapitoa atu fo I mātua ainga I nei. Ia o kilani, ia o mātau nuu mai. Ia. E o whaabevesi o mai Misiafa ia, le tātou ainga I nei. Ai whawhitai lo tau tali manao, lo tau tali sapaia mai fo I o le mātou o mai. E mai se foi, na i o mātou ainga mātou te leo whatoa mātou wheloa. Ia, whawhitai le tō wanga le lei. To our friends who are streaming live and those who are here, thank you so much for reaching out. We acknowledge also the doctors, the nurses, the prayer warriors, those who were, praying for us, and the blood donors, people who were donating money to us, and even giving money, just hand over money in a whaingo fie ia tūlanga. Au whaahali lava tō wanga lele, mara tō alofa ia I maua. I would also like to acknowledge our office, our ministry in Samoa, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, le fionga ia pista, ma le mātou staff, le tō fo I support, ia ma le tō fo ianga lei, le mātou ofisa I suwa, le o fionga I lai komisina maulunga ia li o ainga, ma le mātou ofisa whawhitai le tō wanga lei, mea ma lava, ia ma le lao mātou o walaulia me se foi, la tō foi whaiona tātou putupoto mai le nei aso, ia le a wha mātou le ainga ia, se o ainga, ia le mā Molimau, wā lao lava whawhitai.